Tales of Drakmorra, Chapter 1, Part 1, Cleansing Days. Morning light spilled through the crooked shutters of a small wooden house at the edge of a quiet village. Inside, a boy sat at the kitchen table, elbows resting on rough pine, watching his mother tie bundles of parchment with careful hands. Knox frowned. "Are you really going out today?" he asked. His mother didn't look up right away. She finished tying the string around the stack of flyers before placing them neatly beside the door. Outside, distant bells rang through the village square. Cleansing day. Knox shifted uneasily in his chair. "You know what today is," he said. "The sorcerers are already here. They'll be searching houses." His mother finally turned toward him, her expression calm in a way that almost annoyed him. "And?" she said softly. Knox gestured toward the stack of papers. "Those flyers. They say the dragons are returning. You're putting them up around the village. Today, of all days." He lowered his voice. "If they find out it's you, they won't," she said gently. Knox groaned and leaned back in his chair. "Mom, they arrest people for less. Old Thomas got taken last year because someone found a carved dragon statue in its barn." She picked up one of the flyers and smoothed the parchment with her palm. On it was a simple drawing, 6 dragons circling a rising sun. Beneath it read, "The sovereigns will return. Drakmorra will awaken again." "They've spent centuries trying to erase the truth," she said. "If no one remembers, then the world will never be ready." Knox rubbed his face. "You say that like the dragons are actually coming back." His mother gave him a look that made his stomach twist. "What if they are?" Outside, heavy footsteps echoed down the street. Metal, runes, sorcerers. Knox glanced toward the door, then back at the stack of flyers. "Mom," he said quietly. "Yeah?" "If they knock," she smiled faintly, "then we simply open the door." The knock came like a hammer against the wood. 3 slow strikes. Knox froze. Outside, the village bells had stopped ringing. The silence that followed felt wrong, like the whole street was holding its breath. His mother quietly slid the stack of flyers off the table and into the hearth beside the cold ashes. Another knock came, harder this time. "Cleansing inspection," a voice from the other side of the door called, calm, cold, used to being obeyed. "Open under the authority of Sec." Knox's stomach dropped. They were early. His mother wiped her hands on her apron and looked at him. "Remember," she said quietly, "let me speak." Knox nodded, though his throat felt tight. The knock came again. She crossed the room and lifted the latch. The door creaked open. 3 figures stood outside. Black robes trimmed with silver runes fell to the ground around polished boots. Their hoods shadowed their faces, but faint blue sigils glowed across the fabric in their skin like embers under cloth. The sorcerer in front lifted his head slightly. His eyes were pale, almost white. "Residence registered to Mara of West Hollow," he said, glancing at a small glowing slate in his hand. "That's me," Knox's mother replied calmly. "Cleansing day inspection." His gaze shifted past her. "Are all occupants present?" She stepped aside. "Just my son." Knox forced himself to stand straight as the sorcerer stepped inside. Cold air seemed to follow him. The second sorcerer closed the door behind them with a soft click. The first began walking through the room slowly, his fingers trailing over shelves and tables. A faint shimmer of magic rippled outward from his hand like heat in the air. It's detection magic. Knox's heart pounded. The sorcerer stopped beside the kitchen table. His eyes moved to the hearth. "Ashes. Fresh ones." He tilted his head slightly. "What was burned this morning?" he asked. Knox felt the blood drain from his face, but his mother didn't hesitate. "All the receipts," she said. "Market tallies from Winter." The sorcerer watched her for a long moment. Then he raised one hand. The ashes in the fireplace stirred. A faint swirl of magic lifted them into the air. Small pieces of the half-burned parchment drifted upward, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then one scrap turned in the air. On it, barely visible through the scorch marks, a curved line, a wing, part of a dragon. The sorcerer's pale eyes narrowed, and the room went very, very quiet. Behind him, one of the sorcerers slowly gripped his dagger. The previous sorcerer looked at Knox, then at his mother. "Curious," he said softly. The sorcerer let the ashes fall. Burned fragments drifted back into the hearth like dying snow. For a moment, no one spoke. The pale-eyed sorcerer studied the scrap of charred parchment still clinging to the edge of the grate. The curved mark of the wing had nearly vanished beneath the soot. Nearly, but not quite. But not quite. He flicked 2 fingers, and the scrap disintegrated into dust. "Careless burning," he said flatly. Knox didn't breathe. The sorcerer turned slowly, his robes whispering across the wooden floor. "This residence will require secondary inspection." Knox's stomach tightened. His mother tilted her head slightly. "Is that necessary?" The sorcerer met her eyes without expression. "Cleansing protocol allows for a second search when irregularities are detected." He gestured toward the door. "We will return at sundown." The second sorcerer pulled a small metal seal from his robe and pressed it briefly to the door frame. A faint blue sigil flared, then faded into the wood. "A ward mark," the pale-eyed sorcerer explained. "If anything is removed, destroyed, or concealed between now and our return." He let the sentence hang. The other sorcerer lightly tapped the hilt of his dagger. Knox swallowed. The sorcerer stepped closer to the doorway, but paused beside Knox. Up close, the man smelled faintly of smoke and cold iron. "Remain within the residence," he said. "Leaving during a pending inspection raises suspicion." Then he opened the door. Cold afternoon light spilled into the room as the 3 figures stepped outside. Before leaving, the sorcerer turned back once more. "If the second inspection reveals nothing unlawful," he said calmly, "the matter will be considered resolved." His pale eyes lingered on the hearth. "And we will be gone." The door closed behind them. Their footsteps faded down the road. The house fell silent again. Only then did Knox realize his hands were shaking.